It's showtime.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. If you're new here, please subscribe, click the notification bell, share everywhere, including your YouTube community tab. Please and thank you. So, breaking news, Cardi B just gave birth to her fourth child. And I'm going to, we'll just say, take a unfavorable position, and I'm going to say that y'all need to back up off of Cardi B.
Simping activate.
And here's why. And Cardi's going to say it in her own words, and I'm going to agree with her. And I'm going to lay out why a lot of us, while growing up, have been bamboozled. So make sure you subscribe. Click the bell if you like this commentary. I'll talk to you in the comment section. Let's begin. So, yeah. New hotness. Barty gang grows by one. Baby with Stefon Diggs is here. Now, I think that Cardi had a baby with Stefon Diggs and would have had a baby with anybody famous to kind of get back at Offset, to try to get her lick back. And I know you may be Barty gang, maybe you're against her, maybe you think she's an idiot. Cardi B is an idiot if you listen to how she talks. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people in this world. They are undereducated. They grow up in a bad environment. They become a product of their environment, and there's no changing them. There's no changing for them. So Cardi B, she likes children. She's from the ghetto. She's from the hood. She's not that smart, impulsive. She saw someone like Stefon Diggs. This is just my opinion. She saw someone like Stefon Diggs and was thinking, okay, other women want him, so now I want him. I can further cement that I'm that chick by getting the woman that everyone else wants. And that's how hood chicks think. Hood chicks think in terms of, if a lot of women want him, he must be good, so now I want him too. Kind of like, okay, let's just say you're broke. You're broke. Financial difficulties. Everyone's going on and on and on about the brand new Mercedes-Benz. And you hear it enough times, you're like, you know what? I want a new Mercedes-Benz too, and it's kind of like groupthink. No different than the Popeyes chicken sandwich, how people were fighting each other in Popeyes over the chicken sandwich. And I witnessed people buy the chicken sandwich during that time when people were beating each other up over it. They take the chicken sandwich, take a bite out of it, and throw it away. And go right back in the restaurant to get another one. And it had nothing to do with the Popeyes chicken sandwich being delicious. It's because a lot of people were talking about it. That made a lot of people want to go get one and be in the excitement and pandemonium of the chicken sandwich. It may be a bad example, but this is the best way to kind of illustrate what I believe is going on with Cardi B and Stefon Diggs, in that Cardi B sees a lot of women want him, a lot of women who look like her, act like her, and that's what makes her want him too.
She belongs to the streets.
So her getting pregnant by dude and giving him a baby, especially when he just had one, right before they announced they were dating, this is her way of like planting her flag in him and kind of like making him hers. No different than somebody, let's say, I don't know if you have any relatives that have ever done this, but sometimes when people want to mark their territory, they spit on something. I know it sounds weird. But you also have animals, they'll like pee on something to mark their territory. They're all about marking territory. And it's known that in marking territory, other people are going to go there, but this is like you saying, this is my area. If you go into this area, I'm going to fight you for it.
Uh-oh, stinky.
And it sounds crazy, it sounds bizarre, but this is how the hood and ghetto works. This is how low income, broken, poor people think. They think in terms of, I'm going to plant my flag. Everyone else wants this place, wants this person. I'm going to get it first because I want to prove my worth to other people. This is the same mentality that gangs have with being on a corner, occupying an abandoned building for whatever purpose. They know they don't own it. They don't own the block. They don't own the abandoned building, but they just want to occupy it to kind of like be king of the mountain, even though they don't want to make a purchase. So Cardi B's not interested in making a purchase when it comes to Stefon Diggs. Because if she was wanting to be, let's just say, real, she would have divorced Offset, then started dating again, then would have gotten married again, and then had a baby again. But she didn't do that because she's not interested in doing stuff the societal way. She's interested in doing stuff the ghetto way because that's where she's from, and that's all she knows. That's all she's ever gonna know. So she announced the birth basically today in a social media post. She says, "My life has always been a combination of different chapters and different seasons. My last chapter was the beginning of a new season. Starting over is never easy, but it's been so worth it. I brought new music and a new album to the world, a new baby into my world, and one more reason to be the best version of me. One more reason to love me more than anything else or anyone else, so I can continue giving my babies the love and life they deserve." So what Cardi B is doing is like what women do, and no offense if you are like this or you thought like this. Women think goofy in terms of, I want to have a baby, I want to have this baby, even though the dad doesn't want to be in the life of the child, or this is not a good guy to have a child with. I want someone or something that's going to love me back. And it sounds weird, but again, we're talking about hood, ghetto people, low substandard thinking. That's how they think. They think in terms of that I want to be the mom I never had. I want to be loved, and I want to love something or someone else, even though it's a train wreck waiting to happen. Okay, if you don't believe me when I say that Cardi B's goofy, listen to this interview that she did with Gayle King when she announced that she was pregnant with Stefon Diggs' baby.
Talking, and so the latest rumor about you is that you are having a baby, and I want to know what, if anything, you want to share about that with the class.
Well, yes, I am. I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, Stefon Diggs.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. How are you feeling about that? And that this will be baby number 4 for you, Cardi.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm actually I'm excited. I'm happy. I feel like I'm in a good space. I feel very strong. I feel very powerful that I'm doing all this work, but I'm doing all this work while I'm creating a baby. Me and my man, we're very supportive of each other.
Okay, so she says her and her man. There's a lot to unpack with the interview. I know I couldn't show it to you because of copyright stuff, but Cardi B looks, when she was talking to Gayle King, she looked as if she was in high school, like a little kid. And she's saying that Stefon Diggs is her man. How can he be your man when he was having a baby with someone else during the same time? He's known for cheating, and he probably wasn't even with you when you're going on these interviews, and he probably wasn't even with you. And this is kind of like, of course, after the interview is over with Gayle King, he more than likely wasn't even with you when you gave birth. Dude just making babies everywhere. So it's not really your man, it's just your turn. But someone like Cardi B, the way she thinks, how hood and ghetto people think, they think in terms of, if I fight other chicks who come around and I give him a baby, give him some kitty, cook for him, give him some money, that's my way of planting a flag, and that makes him my man.
But that's okay.
And the issue is not really with Cardi, because I'm taking up with Cardi. I'm taking up for Cardi in this. The problem is that we as people, we were not raised to be husbands. We were not raised to be wives. So in a way, even though I pretty much gave like a drag for Cardi, you really can't drag her because she was not raised to be a wife. The environment that she grew up in, she basically was raised to be a 304 in a survival. She was stripping, selling kitties, setting dudes up by drugging them and robbing them. That comes from her environment, and people taught her how to be like that. So even if you didn't come from the other side of the tracks, it's more than likely your parents didn't raise you. If you're a woman talking to you guys, for the ladies, it's more than likely your parents didn't raise you to be a wife. They wanted you to stay in the house. They tried to chase boys away from you. They wanted you to go to college, get a job. They wanted you to be independent. Or if maybe dad or mom wasn't around, or you had issues with your environment and growing up, they wanted you to focus on surviving. They wanted you to have a better life than them, but they didn't raise you to be a wife. Even people who grow up in religious households, no one is like giving you classes on being a wife. So because you're not given classes on being a wife and how to be a wife, and boys aren't raised to be husbands, you're incapable of getting a good partner. You can't pick better. So Cardi B could not pick better. You could say, well, I wouldn't have chose Offset, I wouldn't have chose Stefon Diggs, but Cardi was looking busted before she got the money and got the plastic surgery. Nobody was checking for her. She was selling kitty to pay bills and buy food. Nobody was checking for her. Older dudes had ran through her. Like most girls these days, no matter what public school you go to, older guys are sniffing around the high school and the junior high. You're saying yes because you don't know any better. You're young. We've heard it online all the time where women will say, oh, I made a mistake in my 20s because I was young. So you're young, getting preyed upon by older guys, getting ran through, not taught how to be a wife, boys not taught to be husbands, and everybody's just doing stuff like animals. So you can't really pick better, in my opinion. All you can do is pick yourself and do the best you can do. Because really, the blame for Cardi B having these 4 kids, including the last one by Stefon Diggs, getting with Offset, being ghetto and being ratchet, the blame is on her parents. That's who the blame is on. And the blame is on other parents in the neighborhood and everyone's parents. I know we speak highly of grandparents and how they had great things back in the day. No, they hid what they had going on. They just hid it. And we're finding out now that they hid stuff. But what went on in the house stayed in the house, and they kept a bunch of secrets. And so when keeping secrets, including somebody touching somebody and being abusive, now people are growing up and they're having to struggle and figure it out. So I say, you know what? More power to Cardi, because even though she's making what we would consider to be bad decisions, she's doing it with money. Her kids have nannies. Even if she makes more kids by more guys, doesn't marry any of them, her children are going to have nannies. They're going to have a name. They're going to have money. And if you're in America, you know that if you make choices that will kind of put you in a situation where you're in poverty, you have welfare to fall back on. Even though they cut off SNAP for like a month and people were freaking out, you still had something to fall back on. And I think the government and the industries are enabling people to have these safety nets. Number one, they want more people to follow down their path. But number two, they understand that we as a society are not raising girls to be wives, not raising boys to be husbands. So people like Cardi B, they can't pick right. Cardi B is incapable of picking right. And then when she looks back and sees all of the consequences of actions, she still is like, well, you know what? Yeah, what I did was bad, but I did everything right, and look what happened.
I'm having a baby with somebody else. So what? That happens. It's life.
So this is Cardi B with an interview with TMZ when she was talking about being pregnant by Stefon Diggs, still being married to Offset. Offset doesn't want to divorce her until he wanted one of his homes and his taxes paid to finalize the divorce. So Offset himself, he's ghetto, he's hood. He's trying to hang on to Cardi B as many times he cheated on her. But he's trying to hang on to Cardi B because he doesn't want her to move on to someone else. He doesn't want her to be happy without him. So he's abusive.
Let me tell you something. I did things the correct way the first time. I fell in love. I got 2 rings in my finger. I lasted 7 years. 7 years that I didn't have to last with somebody with. I lasted 7 years in a marriage. Stop saying, "Oh, but you're still married." No, I'm legally separated. The only reason why I'm still married is because somebody wants me to pay for the taxes. Y'all want to know the tea? The only way I could get out of my marriage if I pay for somebody else's taxes, even though I pay for my own, and give them one of my properties.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. So I'm gonna say this much: there's two aspects to marriage. There's the legal, and then there's like the religious slash spiritual. If you didn't grow up raised to be a wife, and you didn't grow up in a religious household, you being married in a church or for religious purposes, it doesn't really matter. Even if you get married in a church and you start going to church as a couple, as a family, you try to be religious, people are going to revert back to their default, which is being 304s, both men and women. And that's why divorce is so high, because people are not raised to be Christians, not raised to be Islam, not raised to be Judaism, not raised to be anything, including the pagan stuff. So you're not raised to be religious, not raised to be wives, not raised to be husbands. So the whole, wait till you get divorced to mess with somebody else, it doesn't really matter. Because whether you wait to be divorced or not, if you're incapable of picking right because you were raised wrong, you're going to make bad decisions over and over and over again. And again, not taking up for Cardi, I'm just explaining that we as a society need to just accept that the whole point of marriage, besides the religious stuff that would make men want to stay with a woman and child and provide for them, and it would make a woman want to mess up her body to put babies in the world. The other aspect is the legal stuff, and all that is just so the government can like tax you for your marriage. It's so the government could be in your business. So that's what we know as far as right now, as far as being married. But the whole purpose of marriage, when it was first created, was uniting families to make a baby, to bring the families together in blood. That's the whole purpose of marriage. You can look it up. Marriage in the past was about providing a safe environment for children, because all children are wards of the state. And then you have to go and actually sign paperwork letting the state know that you are the parents of this child. Sometimes it's a birth certificate, sometimes it's something else. Usually you don't go through that paperwork unless you start talking about child support. But the whole point of marriage is to raise children in a household with hopefully a man and a woman. So if you picked wrong, if you made mistakes, if you did wrong, if your children are being taken care of, being provided for, and they're in a loving environment, no drama, no stress, living a soft life as kids, then to me, you're doing good. You're doing well. Because there's people right now that they feel like they're in a marriage, but they're single because they're having to do everything while the man goes and works. So the woman, she doesn't work, stays at home with the kids, or stays home, period. And she's lonely because she has no one to talk to. And now with social media being the way it is, women go online and they're basically meeting other people to be friends and end up cheating through that method. Or you got women who are miserable because they really don't want to be moms or wives. They wanted the status symbol that came along with having a wedding ring and a wedding and being married, but didn't want to be a wife, didn't want to be a mom, didn't want to mess up their body, didn't want children, didn't want the stress that comes with being a parent. And you got a lot of men, all they really wanted was the kitty. And then when she got, he wanted it raw, she got pregnant, he decided to stay, he's miserable. They're both gaining weight, they're both getting fat, they're both miserable, and it's only a matter of time before they separate, divorce, or start cheating, or hurting each other, or themselves. And that's like majority of Americans, majority of people around the world. So with Cardi B, her children have a better chance of making it than anybody else because she has money, because her name does still open up doors, and her and the children of her kids, they got money. Even though she's being sued in the divorce, they still got money. They still can generate money. So a lot of people are like throwing stones, but I'm like, look, your situation's not any good, since you're on Snap, upset the government's gonna cut you off, you can't feed your kids. You really can't judge Cardi B. You really can't judge anybody. And then the people who are in a 2-parent household and they're married, are you happy? Do you have to work at your marriage? If you're like, yeah, we do got to work, we got to make things work, we got to have date nights, we got to do this and do that, it's more than likely you both ain't really feeling each other anyway. So you really can't pick right. Like Cardi B said, even though she picked someone that we wouldn't pick as far as being married to, as far as Offset, she picked the best that she could because she's a hood chick, she's ghetto. And she got lucky after being a reality star and got money by being an entertainer, including rapping and doing appearances. So I think that we should not be so hard on Cardi B and just kind of accept her as is, accept her situation as is, because her parents failed her and her parents' failed them, and we as a society have gotten away from what made families strong or appear to be strong. And I could even argue that they appeared to be strong, but Papa was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, all he left y'all was alone. Grandma had a bunch of kids by different people. And people made a way because you had people in the neighborhood, people in the family coming together, doing potlucks and cooking for each other and helping each other out. But now people are more spread out because they have more opportunity. There's not an anchor to anyone's ship to force anyone to be together for the family to raise the kids as a village. And that's why a lot of negativity is starting the show, including people getting online telling their business, saying Uncle Mark touched me, Grandpa such and such touched me. Or you go to a funeral and people go to the very front and they're like, yeah, the guy who died, he's my dad. And people looking at him like, what? Ain't nobody ever seen you. Yeah, they hid the kids. They hid the little side babies, the secret kids. They hid those. And then they come out when people go through a divorce. And I know I'm rambling, but that actually happened to me. I went to my great-grandfather's funeral, and like a guy got up there. He was my age, and he said, yeah, this is my dad. And my great-grandma was sitting there looking like she already knew. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So anyway, congratulations to Cardi B and Stefon Diggs for having their first baby together. Stefon has a bunch of kids. Cardi B has 4 total. Congratulations to them. And yeah, I think we should stop judging and start accepting what reality is versus what we want it to be. So that's the video. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video. Share your social media. Subscribe. Click the notification bell. I'm Spade Parkland. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.